What's going on, guys? Week 3 is over, and I had big plans for this week. I really did. I had a lot of things I wanted to do for you. As your number one team coming into this week, I had plans of bringing on a championship belt and confetti and naked chicks and fire trucks, and then I ran into Bobby. He spoiled the fun. All right. Well, let's kick this thing off. Also, you'll notice headphones. And a microphone. I noticed a lot of audio issues over the last couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that this is going to alleviate those issues for you guys. It was cutting out every once in a while, and that's the built-in microphone on my computer. So I'm hoping that this works. If it doesn't, I'll go back to the other way next week. But I've done a couple of tests, and this sounds a lot better. So let's get this thing underway. Kick this thing off. And as the number one team coming into the week, my matchup with Bobby is up first. And man, was this close. He was number 9 coming into the week. I was number 1, obviously. Bobby wins the matchup 11-10. He wins by 2 runs, a strikeout, and .006 in batting average. My close categories, I won by a triple, 2 homers, a strikeout, and an error. For me, I left 10 for 37 on the bench. That's a 270 batting average, 2 runs, a double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, and an error. The biggest thing for me was on the 19th. The weather absolutely motherfucked me. Like Mother Nature really wanted to fuck with me. I started watching the Cubs and the Cubs game at like 11 o'clock out here, and the Twins and Orioles got canceled, so I was able to throw Jorge Polanco and Williams Astudillo on the bench. But then the Indians and Braves got canceled, so that killed any chance of having a shortstop. And since I played Baez at third to start the day, I couldn't get Matt Chapman in the lineup. And of course, he, homered. That's great. The end of the day, I made a lot of moves. I was chasing relief appearances by the end, which I did end up winning. I also chased a lot of innings pitched to try to stay ahead of Bobby. For Bobby, he had a 282 batting average. It's 20 for 71 on the bench, 11 runs, 4 doubles, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 7 walks, 18 strikeouts, and an error. The big thing he left on his bench is one of the biggest days I think we'll see all season on the bench in the bigs. That was on the 20th, which was Saturday. Renato Nunez was in the doubleheader due to the rainouts the day before between the Orioles and the Twins. All he does is go 5 for 9 with 3 jacks, 4 runs, and 4 RBIs. And Jurickson Profar's over 4 at third base for him. Just absolutely dreadful. You never want to see something like that, but I'm glad it happened to him and not me. The key players for this week, Nick Markakis for Bobby. We'll run through his really quick. Nick Markakis had a big week. He hit 500 on Bobby's team when he had him in there, 556 on base percentage, 2 homers, 2 runs, a double, and 2 RBIs. Just a consistent hitter. Nothing you're surprised at from Nick Markakis. Will Myers had 2 homers and 4 RBIs. He batted .316 with 381 on base percentage, 3 runs, and a double. And Lorenzo Cain, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, a .308 average, and a .400 on base percentage with 5 runs scored. I would have given a nod to Mike Trout as well, who had 6 runs scored and 7 walks, but he only hit .240 for the week, so that's kind of not somebody you want to bring along. For Bobby's pitching, Ryan Brazier had three saves with a 2.45 ERA and 4 relief appearances. Thing is, Bobby pitched to a 7.92 ERA and a 1.94 WHIP and went 0-4 for the week. So it's hard to find a pitcher that's worthy of this. Max Fried did have a nice start, quality start, 6 innings, 3 strikeouts, 3 ERA, and a 1.33 WHIP. Beyond that, pickings are slim there. Streamed Chris Stratton, that was bad. His pitching really was what kept me in this because honestly, his offense was pretty strong despite the 255 batting average for the week. For me, Yohan Moncada, 292 batting average, 320 on base, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, a steal, 4 runs. Just, I think this kid's going to have a breakout season. He's a former top prospect. He's going to be awesome. Michael Conforto, 227 batting average, but had 3 homers and 3 RBIs. And considering I won home runs 15-13 this week, I'll take every homer I can get. So, 5 runs, 3 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks. That's a 370 on base percentage. Very, very nice. And Tommy Pham, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, another steal, 320 batting average, 370 on base. I won steals 3-2, so every single one of the guys who got a steal is accounted for here. On the pitching side, Trevor Bauer, once again, 13 innings, a win, 2.08 ERA, a 1 whip, and 18 strikeouts, again, over the 13 innings. Just absolutely a monster to start week. Shane Green comes back again with 2 saves. Unfortunately, had he gotten a third, it would have been much nicer because I would have then tied saves, or would have been much closer in saves. Bobby won 4-2. And Joe Musgrove started off the week fantastically. 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, a 2.57 ERA. He did not get the win in that start because the bullpen blew it for him. I'll get to that in a minute. So a couple of thoughts or a couple of things that stuck out during the week. On the 15th, Adam Cimber of the Indians strikes out Mitch Haniger with an 8-pitch at bat with the bases loaded up 2 to preserve Trevor Bauer's quality start. Meanwhile, Jeurys Familia and Robert Gsellman blow the win for Syndergaard. On the 17th, my first day with Juan Soto, which the trades I'll get to at the end of the video. My first day with Juan Soto, I benched him against Jeff Samardzija in Nationals Park. Samardzija was hot. Nationals Park's kind of a hitter's park. He homers. Bobby benches Yanni Chirinos versus Baltimore with 5 innings, a win and 5 strikeouts. And Bobby benched Nick Markakis for the final game of the week, and I was playing Lindor. Lindor homered, which was nice, but I could have come back and taken average had he done better than a 1-for-4 day. The Soto benching and the Chapman inability to get him in during the rainouts is probably what cost me in this matchup. Bobby would have crushed me if he had played Nunez on the 20th. That might be the biggest single benching this season. Kudos to Bobby. Good quality win for him against a strong team. Obviously, he improves to 9th from 10th. I fall to 3rd this week. I guess if you're gonna take a loss, make it a loss to a quality team like Roos, and make sure it's close, like 11-10. Moving on. Moving on to the second place team coming into this week, which is Mike Haber, Teoscar named Desire, taking on James Santangelo, James's team. James, could you get a creative name, please? I mean, come on, man. Everybody else in this league has something at least mildly entertaining. Yours is as bland as vanilla ice cream. James was 7th coming into this week. Again, Mike was 2nd. And they tied 10-10. I think that's our first tie of the season. Close matchups. Mike Haber wins by 2 doubles, a strikeout, 2 wins, a save, and a relief appearance. James wins by home runs, complete games that I'll get to, and a pitching home run. And they tied in triples and stolen bases. For Mike Haber, he goes 10 for 47 on his bench, which is a 213 batting average, 2 runs, a double, a homer, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and 14 strikeouts. The first day of the week, which was the 15th, looks like Jason Kipnis was on his bench for a 10-10 Eastern start, and Soler was out of the lineup at 8-10. He could have moved Mookie Betts to right field, moved Kipnis into center, and had the 1-for-3 with an RBI. Wouldn't have changed much, but, it was one of those. At the time, I saw the move and felt like I had to document it. And then the next day, he leaves Brandon Belt with a home run on the bench against Strasburg. So I don't blame him for benching Belt against Strasburg, not at all. Just sucks for it being there. Also, final day on Sunday. It looks like Jorge Soler went 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. Is that a platinum sombrero or a diamond sombrero? I couldn't decide. Um, few solid moves from Mike. Nothing sticks out as egregious or anything like that. We'll move on to James Santangelo, and James, I'll address something that was brought to my attention earlier. But first, we'll go with your batting line. 7 for 28 on the bench, which was a 250 batting average, 5 runs, a double, a homer, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. On Monday, Yasmani Grandal wasn't starting, but went 2 for 2 with a run. And then he left him on the bench again the following day, and he homered against Jack Flaherty. That's just frustrating. Like, he's not starting, but he gets into the lineup late and gives you 2 hits, and then a homer the next day against a really good pitcher. Um, looks like the 18th, he benched David Dahl coming off the DL and had nobody in right, and he went 1 for 3 with a double. That double would have been helpful. It would have pulled him within one, and then I guess you can chase that double. Um, but you know, it sucks. It sucks sometimes. You know, you're playing matchups and you're leaving guys on the bench that you think are going to do right. And trust me, I understand. Um, the drop of Brian Anderson for Daniel Robertson, I found curious, especially considering Daniel Robertson was then dropped for Derek Holland of all people. Um, I feel like Brian Anderson's about the best hitter in Miami. Not that there's a bunch of mashers there anymore, but like when you have the best hitter on a team, I think you keep him regardless of what team that is. But I mean, you did it for your reasons, by all means. Um, key players for this week. We'll start with Mike Haber. Paul DeYoung had a big week from Mike. He hit 375 for the week with a 444 on base percentage, a homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 3 walks, 5 runs, and 2 doubles. Wellington Castillo also had a good week. 2 homers, 4 RBIs, a 286 average, 333 on base with 2 runs and a double. And finally, Cesar Hernandez, 310 average, a homer, 3 RBIs, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 4 walks, 394 on base. I would have given it to Edwin Encarnacion as well, but he hit 167 for the week. So that's just what you get with EE. For his pitching, again, it's difficult to find guys when you have high ERAs. Not that Mike's was egregious at a 409 with a 149 WHIP for the week, but it's just difficult to find guys. I'm gonna have to give one to Derek Rodriguez, who gave him 10 2/3, 2 wins, 10 strikeouts with a 2.53 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. CC Sabathia gave him a decent start. I can't call it a quality start, but it was 5 innings, a win, 4 walks, but 5 strikeouts, no earned. And finally, Zach Davies. I believe he got streamed for this start, and I think Mike's going to be hanging on to him. He went 5 innings, 2 strikeouts, no earned, and a 1.20 WHIP. Some of the best players you can find for a week are often guys that you stream. I know I found a couple good ones. There have been some fantastic ones, and that's why I'm trying to highlight every single one that I find every week as far as quality starts on a stream go. James Santangelo, his entire offense this week was Christian Yelich. Like, the dude is on another planet. 8 homers, 16 RBIs, a 417 batting average, a 533 on base percentage, 9 runs, 6 walks, 4 strikeouts. I mean, James's entire team hit 12 homers, and Christian Yelich accounted for 8 of them. His entire team had 27 RBIs, and Christian Yelich accounted for 16 of them. Just absolutely disgusting. And when I looked at the rest of James's team, it was gross. Like, I couldn't find, I found 2 more guys to highlight here, but it was like, what does Christian Yelich have in this lineup that can help him? Grandal hit 077. Brandon Belt didn't get a hit and struck out 3 times. Melky Cabrera hit 083. Tucker Barnhart hit 182. Manny Margot hit 091. Like this entire lineup, I'm I, his whole team hit 209 for the week. Like it was ugly. It was ugly. Um, Marcus Semien hit 308 with a 400 on base percentage, 3 runs and a double and an RBI. Like there weren't any counting stats along with that. Like that was just keeping him above the Mendoza line for the week. And Mike Moustakas, 313 average, 450 on base, a homer, an RBI, 2 doubles, and a run scored. And again, offensively, like if Christian Yelich was out of this lineup, this would have been one of the worst offensive weeks in the history of the Bigs. Pitching wise for James, completely different story. Jake Arrieta, 8 innings, a win, a 2.25 ERA, 3 strikeouts, and a 1 WHIP. Luke Weaver had a good start for James, 5 innings, a win, nothing earned, 9 strikeouts. And let me get to the elephant in the room in this matchup. The reason they stayed tied is because Derek Holland goes 5 innings, gets a loss in a rain-shortened game between Pittsburgh and San Francisco. They go 5 innings. Pittsburgh goes up 3-1 in the fifth. He gave up 3 runs over 5. But because the game was rain-shortened after 5 innings, Derek Holland gets the fucking complete game. And James gets his 10th category. Ben, I'm pointing right at you right now. You've heard it from other people. This is why complete games is a garbage stat. Because Derek Holland gives up 3 earned over 5 innings, gets the loss, and gets a complete game, and James wins that category this week. If James makes the playoff by 1 game, that's the game. And is that what you want in the Bigs? Turn it over to quality starts next season. Everybody who agrees, talk to me in the message boards. I just think it's absolute trash. Now, as for James, I understand that you were a little upset because you benched a few pitchers along the way, and trust me, I saw it. The 16th, he benched Robbie Ray at Atlanta, who went 6 innings, 5 earned, 4 strikeouts, 4 walked, and a no decision. On the next day, he benched Eovaldi at New York, who went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, a walk, and a no decision. And on Sunday, he benched both Joey Lucchesi and Robbie Ray. Lucchesi was at home against Cincinnati, went 5 2/3 with a win, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts, and 2 walks. And he benched Robbie Ray at Chicago, 6 innings, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts, a walk, and a no decision. All of those 4 starts, when you combine with the pitching totals you had for the week, equates to 69 2/3 innings pitched, which does not win you innings pitched. It gives you 5 wins, which does not win you wins. 65 strikeouts, which does not win you strikeouts. 20 walks, which still wins you walks, and a 2.71 ERA, which improves, but it's still a win because you already won that category. The WHIP was slightly better, but it's also still a win. It would not have flipped any of the categories. And in fact, the home run that Robbie Ray gave up on the 16th against Atlanta would have tied home runs and made you lose 10-9. I give you a ton of credit for being as disciplined as you were with these starts and still making the innings minimum. Well done. Don't beat yourself up over it because you still would have ended with basically the same amount of categories, and you still would have gotten your Derek Holland bullshit complete. Moving on, we move to the number 3 team coming into the week, which was Witness Protection, Jason Ashby, who took on Strike Posey in our commissioner, Ben Nisman. Benny gets the win here, 11-7 in a mild upset. Ben, the close categories for the week. Ben wins home runs given up by a pitcher by 1. Jason wins by 2 doubles, a win, and again, a complete game, Benjamin. We'll get to that momentarily. Ties, they tied in triples, steals, errors, and losses. For Benjamin, he went 9 for 40 on his bench, which is 225 average. 4 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and 12 strikeouts. Nothing. He did make that big blockbuster trade with Frank midweek. I'll get to that later on. For Jason, there wasn't. Looks like Ben picked up Avi Garcia and left him on the bench. He didn't start, but of course came in and gave him a pinch hit home run. It wouldn't have affected the outcome. Ben won homers 12-6. But it's just frustrating to see that, if you have an open roster spot and your guy is not starting, sometimes it's good to leave him in there because you never know what he's going to do off the bench. For Jason, not a whole lot to talk about on as far as the bench is concerned. He only went 2 for 9 on the bench, 222 average, a run, a homer, an RBI, and 2 strikeouts. You'll notice of that 2 for 9, he did have a solo home run in there. So on the 16th, Marwin Gonzalez hit him that solo home run. His entire team hit 172, and Marwin Gonzalez had 5 position eligibility. Do I think he could have gotten him in there? Yeah, probably. It happens. Key players for this matchup. Ben Nisman had quite the week from Joc Pederson. I don't know why he went away from jockeying for position as his team name, because Joc Pederson's killing it right now. 348 batting average, a 444 on base, 4 walks, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, and 6 runs scored. Clint Frazier, who's going to see a ton of time now with both of the big boppers in the Bronx on the DL. He hit 400 for the week, a 423 on base with 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 2 doubles, and 4 runs scored. And more of the same from Trey Mancini. I think this is a must-start guy for you now, Ben. A 400 batting average, 464 on base, 6 runs, and 4 doubles. Considering you lost doubles by 2, Mancini certainly helped you get to your 13, and 13 doubles should win most weeks. Pitching-wise, Kyle Freeland gave him a quality start, 6 innings, no earned, a win, 7 strikeouts, an 0.33 whip. Just absolutely fantastic start against Philadelphia at home. Considering how strong that lineup is and in that ballpark, you take your chances with that, but it was absolutely amazing start. Masahiro Tanaka, again, appears to be Ben's ace right now. 7 innings, a win, 7 strikeouts, a 1.29 ERA, and a 1 whip. Did give up 1 homer. It happens. And finally, Kenley Jansen got him 3 saves in 4 appearances. The thing about Kenley Jansen, though, the 15th was an ugly day for Ben. Brad Boxberger gave up a home run to a game-winning home run to Wellington Castillo and took the loss. Kenley Jansen blows the save for the Dodgers against Matt Kemp, who was on Ben's team and still is. He gives up the go-ahead single to Matt Kemp. So Raisel Iglesias comes in, who blows the save and gets the loss and gives up a walk-off homer to Joc Pederson. It was 6 relief appearances, a 17.18 ERA for the day, and all 4 of those guys, Jansen, Kemp, Iglesias, and Pederson, all on Ben's team. Absolutely roller coaster of a game. And I can't imagine looking at your roster going, what in the fuck just happened? On the 16th, Jason hit his 40 innings. He's up 12-8 and taking all the offensive categories. So for Ben to turn it around the way he did and only lose doubles offensively is pretty solid. Jason also throws his complete game shutout with Mike Minor. So here's the thing. When you get a 9-inning complete game, you deserve that fucking category. You don't deserve it on a 5-inning rainout. Let me highlight Jason's team before I go any further. Ryan Healy is the is the one MVP of the week. He hit 2 homers and drove in 5 RBIs with 5 walks. He only hit 182, but he had a 357 on base percentage, 3 runs and a double. Domingo Santana continues to rake, 269 average, 321 on base, a homer and 3 RBIs. And Wilson Contreras, 333 average, 520 on base percentage with 4 walks, a homer, 4 RBIs, 2 doubles, and 3 runs. Pitching wise, Tyler Glasnow appears to be like an ace that nobody saw coming. 12 and a third, a win, 8 strikeouts, 2.92 ERA, a 105 WHIP. 2 good solid starts against Baltimore and Boston. Mike Minor again has the 9-inning complete game shutout, 7 strikeouts, and 0.56 WHIP. And Jose Quintana, 7 innings, a win, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned. It's a very strong start for him, again, but it was in Miami, so take that for what it is. Going back to my notes for this week. So Jason hits his 40 innings. He's got a complete game shutout with Mike Minor. Ben's pitching line to this point was 11 and 2/3, 0 and 2, 3 homers, 5 walks, 12 strikeouts, a 10.80 ERA, and a 180 WHIP. Steven Matz had his awful, I think it was 6 earned over no outs start. Chris Sale got bombed, and Kyle Gibson was the best starter to that point. And he wasn't great. Like, he threw 5 1/3, and his ERA was 6.75. The next day, looks like Jason started Lucas Giolito, who gave him 2 2/3 shutout, but he got pulled for a hamstring injury. Just more of the same the rest of the week. Ben ended up with a 5.90 ERA and a 136 WHIP, and that has everything to do with the awful start that Steven Matz gave him. Ben did point out to me that last week I said if you're a Mets fan, you like seeing Steven Matz giving you quality innings, and then he goes out there and gives you nothing, like literally just a 10-run deficit. Just a rough start, or just a rough start from him that day. Hopefully he bounces back for Benny. Benny doesn't improve with the win in the standings. He goes from 13th to 13th. Jason does fall, however, from 3rd to 6th with the loss. Moving on. We move on to a blowout this week. The 4th place team coming into the week, Jimmy Dunlap, JD17, takes down Kershaw for Passover. Mike Sherman. 14-5 is the final here. Close categories. Jimmy wins by a triple, 2 steals, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts from the pitcher. Mike wins by a save, 2 relief appearances, and .05 WHIP. Tied in wins and walks by a pitcher. For Jimmy, where we'll start, he goes 5 for 26 on his bench, which is a 192 batting average. A run, a double, a triple, a strikeout, a stolen base, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, and an error. The interesting thing I found there, the triple, obviously, but he already won triples 2-1. No, the thing I found interesting was he added Brandon Brennan at 139, and Seattle's game was at 640. And Brennan pitched that night, and he left that relief appearance on the bench. That would have pulled him within 1 relief appearance in that category. And then I guess you chase it late in the week. That happened on Wednesday. So, I mean, if you have that 1 relief appearance, you can chase that last one on Sunday and try to find it. I see he was chasing Boston catchers for the week, dropping Blake Swihart for Sandy Leon, dropped Sandy Leon for the aforementioned Brandon Brennan, and then picked up Christian Vasquez. You know, it looks like he's rolling through catchers right now, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of bad catchers out there. For Mike Sherman, he left a 263 batting average. That's 5 for 19 with 2 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 strikeouts, and 2 errors. Nothing egregious that I could point to and say, oh, you should have started this guy over this guy. You know, it's a case of, you play the matchups and sometimes you pays off, sometimes it doesn't. There wasn't really a big deal that that, oh my God, he had to have this guy. The drop of Ryan McMahon for Jesse Biddle, though, was surprising because I think it was McMahon who had a ridiculous week this week. To see him dropped early in the week for a reliever hurts. I'm sure he would have liked to have him in the lineup instead. Key players for this matchup, Jimmy has a huge week from Justin Smoke. Where the fuck did this guy come from? 444 average, 500 on base, 3 homers, 10 big RBIs, and 7 runs scored on a pretty bad Toronto team. Like it looks like he got an RBI every single day except for Friday the 19th. And hit his 3 homers Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, where did Justin Smoke come from? And is he like the new Big Bopper in Toronto? Like, they had this lineup of like Batista, Donaldson, and Tulowitzki, and Edwin Encarnacion, and they're all gone now, and the only one left is Justin Smoke. So here's to hoping that guy carries the team for a while. Alex Bregman had a good week. 333 average, 478 on base, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 4 walks, 4 runs, and a double. And finally, Tim Anderson, who got suspended for saying the naughty no-no words, still put up a 389 average with a 450 on base, a homer, 3 RBIs, 4 steals, 5 runs, and a double. Pitching wise, it's more the same for Jimmy. Luis Castillo, another fantastic week. 11 innings, a win, 16 strikeouts, a 2.45 ERA, a 1.27 WHIP. Zach Greinke gave him a quality start, 4 strikeouts, a win, and an 0.83 WHIP. And Jorge Lopez was a great streamer for him. I know the ERA doesn't say it of a 5.54 with a 1.46 WHIP, but 16 strikeouts over 13 innings for a shitty Kansas City squad against the White Sox and the Yankees. Like, I don't think you could ask for a whole lot more than a strikeout an inning from that guy. He gave up 4 homers, which, at the end of the day, I think by that point Jimmy was already punting that category because he lost it 16-8. But like, that's a hell of a stream, an underrated stream of Jorge Lopez. For Mike Sherman, it's more kids showing up and playing well for him. Fernando Tatis, 348 average, 400 on base, and he filled up the stat line: 3 runs, a double, a triple, a homer, 2 RBIs, 3 steals, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and an error. He filled the entire stat line. So at any time you can get that, aside from the errors, you love it. Pete Alonso had another good week for him. 273 batting average, 407 on base with 4 walks, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, and 6 runs scored. And Jeff McNeil, 348 average, a 400 on base. Not a whole lot of counting stats, but that average kept him in it. I mean, Mike didn't win a single offensive category and sort of got dump trucked on this. But a lot of that will keep it. A lot of those stats kept him in some of these categories that he was fighting for toward the end of the week. Pitching wise for Sherman, Clayton Kershaw, 13 innings, looks like 3 earned, 13 strikeouts, and 0.85 WHIP. About as good as you can ask for when he's coming off the DL. You just hope he can stay healthy. And against 2 solid lineups, Cincinnati and Milwaukee especially. Carlos Carrasco, who last week had the worst start of the week, had a very good bounce back start. 7 innings, 12 strikeouts against at Seattle. Absolutely everything you want to see. And for a minute, it was the start of the week. Obviously, that did not happen. Finally, Diego Castillo, 4 relief appearances, a save. And considering that Mike won relief appearances and saves, I'll give Diego Castillo his due this week. Not a whole lot of things to be happy about from Mike this week. Again, he only won 5 categories, and all of them were pitching, and they're mostly the direct result of Jimmy having bad starts and not having a closer who's going to shut down games other than Brad Hand this week. I mean, Givens didn't close a game. Alvarado didn't close a game for him. So, this could have been a lot worse than it was. Offensively, Jimmy just dump trucked him. Absolutely dump trucked him. For that, Jimmy improves to the number one team for the week. So next week, Jimmy, you will lead off. Mike falls from 8th to 10th with the loss. Moving on. We're going to move on to the number 5 team coming into the week. That was McCann You Dig It. Frank Bucco against the number 12 team, Barry Nisman. And Barry gets the win here, 11-10. Now, early on in the week, Barry had a much more sizable lead. So I'm going to give credit where it's due. Frank made a solid comeback in this. The close categories this week, Barry wins by a run, a double, a triple, and a win. Frank wins by a homer, 2 steals, a loss, a save, and a home run given up by a pitcher. We'll go to Barry's team first before I get into the fucking keg party that is Frank's team. We'll start with Barry. On the bench, 12 for 42. That's a 286 batting average. 4 runs, a double, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 7 walks, 7 strikeouts, and an error. The one thing that I took a note on here was Omar Narvaez on Monday was against Trevor Bauer, who went 2 for 3 with a home run, and Yadier Molina against I think it was Dakota Hudson. It couldn't have been Dakota Hudson. It was against. Give me a second here. I'm pulling it up. It was against Freddie Peralta. Went 1 for 5 with a double and an RBI. At the end of the day, Barry did win by that double, so he made a good call. For future reference, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to take notes of what I saw that could be questionable toward week end. Obviously, this didn't hurt him. I mean, if he had played both, he would have tied in homers, and it would have been 11-9. But I mean, you take one or the other at this point. Solid week from Barry. Nothing too egregious as far as drops or ads or anything like that. Again, I just wonder where it went sideways, or where did Frank start picking up stats? That I couldn't figure it out. But every day it was like Frank was picking up a stat or two. Where it started off like 12-6, 11-5, somewhere in there. Frank picked up 5 categories by the end of the week. Moving on to Frank, he went 12 for 63, which is a 190 batting average on his bench. 6 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 5 RBIs, 4 steals, 8 walks, and 16 strikeouts. When you look at that line, it starts off with a 190 batting average, but there's just a ton of counting stats. Those 6 runs would have won him that. The 2 doubles would have won him that. The home run is not important. The 5 RBIs are inconsequential. The 4 steals aren't important. The 8 walks aren't important. But the runs and the doubles, where is where I saw a lot of the issues for him this week. Again, not anything that I can point to and go, you should have started this guy over this guy. But when you're substituting, when you make this many moves, it's the thing about Frank's ad drops this week. So I'll get to the trades he made toward the end of the video. But he dropped Merrill Kelly 12 hours after trading for him for Brian McCann, which was his 3rd catcher on his roster. Then turned around and dropped and added Merrill Kelly back 2 days later after he cleared waivers. To me, that's a waste of a roster move, because you're going to make another move anyway to get Kelly back. So why not just keep him on the roster. Like, you know, on the 20th, he added Michael Chavis, Eric Sogard, and Marwin Gonzalez, all three of which he did not play that day, and then dropped Marwin Gonzalez and Michael Chavis. And one of the guys that he picked up did not play in Tyler Flowers. Like, these are all wasted moves for the week. And if you calculate all of these up, you're going to end up with a situation where you're going to be out of roster moves and you need to pick somebody up to try to get innings or a win or a relief appearance or, you know, a steal or something. And I see so many guys going in and out of his lineup. Like last week, I talked about Dan Vogelbach being one of the key pickups. He dropped him for Mitch Garver, and then like dropped Garver today, or dropped Fegley for Garver. I don't even know anymore. Like trying to keep up with Frank's team is like trying to herd cats in a keg party at college. Like it's just impossible. We'll move on. Key players for Barry's team. Paul Goldschmidt, as expected, 346 average, a 393 on base, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 5 runs, and a double. Andrelton Simmons, 406 batting average, 5 RBIs, 6 doubles. And considering he won doubles by 1, there's your reason why. 5 runs scored. And Brian Goodwin got him a really great week. 417 average, 556 on base, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a triple, 4 runs scored, and 4 walks. Considering it was the only triple of the week, I gave him the nod over Alex Gordon's 4 doubles. Absolutely strong offensive week from Barry. He won all but 3 categories offensively. Pitching-wise, that's a different story. I feel like this is the same old story. He put up a 4.48 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP. It's the best that Frank has seen from an opposing manager. And I'll get to Frank's pitching in a minute, but you know, for Barry, Miles Mikolas gave him a great start. 8 innings, looks like 2 earned, a win, 4 strikeouts. That start was against the Mets because, of course, it was. Felipe Vasquez again, 2 innings, 2 saves, 4 strikeouts, nothing earned. And Trevor Williams, another solid start, 6 innings, quality start, 5 strikeouts, a 1.17 WHIP. You know, Ivan Nova seems to be the curse. Like, if you're starting Ivan Nova on a stream, it's going to backfire. He went 6 1/3 and gave up like 7 earned, I think, and only 3 strikeouts. Tyler Mahle had a start for Uncle Barry. He got the loss, gave up 4 earned over 6 innings with 9 strikeouts, so that's a positive thing. Julio Teheran got bombed against Cleveland. You know, so there were some bad starts in there. Yusei Kikuchi didn't have a great week either. But it's more of the same. It's more of managers having bad pitching weeks against Frank. Now, to Frank's credit, let's give credit where it's due. Frank had a great week from Hunter Dozier, who hit 3 homers and 4 RBIs with 7 walks, a 364 average, 517 on base. Dwight Smith Jr. had a good week, 313 average, 333 on base, a homer and 5 RBIs with 2 doubles and 2 runs. And he traded for JD Martinez, who got him 417 average, 588 on base, a homer, 2 RBIs, and a steal, which might be his only steal all year. Pitching-wise, I mean, Frank put up a 2.91 ERA, and that includes an absolutely just gross start from Dakota Hudson, who went 3 2/3 with a 14.73 ERA against Milwaukee in Milwaukee. And a Merrill Kelly start that went 3 2/3 and a 7.36 ERA for the day against Chicago. So when you add those 2 starts, which is 7 1/3 innings, to still have a 2.91 ERA for the week, I mean, you can't knock that. You can't knock it at all. He did have good starts. Well, he had a great week from Hector Neris. 3 innings, 7 strikeouts, 2 saves. Kevin Gausman gave him a good start, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, and 1 homer, but an 0.57 whip. And Caleb Smith gave him another good start, 6 innings, it's quality start, 8 strikeouts. Um, someone finally put up a decent pitching performance, but again, you're not going to win a whole lot of weeks with a 4.48 ERA. But Frank answered the call. I mean, all of the doubts about his pitching the first 2 weeks were certainly answered this week. He lost 8 offensive categories, but perhaps his offense will pick up. It's like he traded away all of his pitching in Sale. I'll get to the trades later, but he traded it all for offense, and that offense, other than JD Martinez, has been struggling. Like Jose Ramirez again hits 158 for him. Carlos Correa hits 143 for him. Mitch Haniger hit 185 with 10 strikeouts. Like the real question is whether the pitching he's put together will suffice for a full season. For Barry, quality win. You've got to win against the top 5 teams this early. You can feel good about your offense coming around. Paul Goldschmidt hitting again feels good. If you can get Starling Marte back sooner rather than later from this abdominal strain, you feel good about where your team's going. The pitching should come around, but when I look at his roster, I don't see an ace that you're pointing to and going, that guy will get me a quality start every time out. Miles Mikolas is probably the closest to it, and he's got an ERA of almost 5. Moving on. We move on to Andy Solar Greco against Josh Haber. All brawn, no brains against, well, I'll be damned. And, well, I'll be damned. This was another blowout. Andy wins innings pitched by 2 and saves by 2. Those are the only 2 close categories for him. Josh wins by a triple, a win, and a relief appearance, and they tied in errors. Everything else was pretty much a blowout one way or the other. For Andy, he had by far the best bench of the season so far. He went 5 for 43, which is a 116 batting average. 5 runs, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, and 2 errors. I did not see a single thing there where I would go, oh yeah, no, you have to start this guy, because those 2 homers probably, I think, were both pinch hit homers. But the batting average on the bench is just insane. I don't think we see anything that low again this year. Unless somebody goes 0 for 6. You know what I mean? To have that many at bats on his bench and go 5 for 43 is something to be proud of. For Josh, he went 16 for 57 on the bench. That's a 281 batting average, 11 runs, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 14 RBIs, 6 walks, 11 strikeouts. But the thing about that is that on Sunday, he benched Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, and Josh Donaldson because he didn't need them and they could do nothing but hurt him on the Sunday night game. So if you take out those 3 Braves and what they did to Cleveland, which was fucking mash, without those 3 purposely benched Braves, he ends up going 9 for 44, which is a 205 batting average, 1 run, a double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. It's a much better line. So credit to Josh for doing just as well. Josh only made one roster move this week. He ended up dropping Troy Tulowitzki to grab Adam Cimber. Adam Cimber did not get him a relief appearance. So I mean, if that was the move that got him a relief appearance and he won it by 1, would have been a fantastic move, but he didn't. So we move on. Key players for this matchup. Andy, we'll start with Josh. He won the week. So Josh had a great week from Marcell Ozuna. 3 homers, 6 RBIs, a stolen base, 8 runs scored, 7 walks, It's a 263 batting average with a 481 on base percentage. Asdrubal Cabrera gave him a good run, 353 average, 450 on base, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 6 runs scored. And Brandon Lau got him the only triple of the matchup. 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 263 batting average. He single-handedly won him triples. Pitching wise, James Paxton, holy shit, what a week. 14 innings, a win, 24 strikeouts, nothing earned, a .50 whip. Just disgusting week. Just an absolutely disgusting week. Proving why the Yankees traded for him. It was against Boston and Kansas City. 12 strikeouts apiece, 1 walk each. Just gross. Absolutely gross week. Cole Hamels gave him a quality start, 7 innings, a win, 8 strikeouts, nothing earned. And Kyle Hendricks did basically the same, 7 innings, a win, 11 strikeouts, and nothing earned. Great pitching week from Josh. A 1.30 ERA for the week. That is nearly a record. Unfortunately, it's not. I looked. But it is an all-time great pitching performance. I remember distinctly, like, Saturday evening, his ERA was 0.52 over 48 innings. Had he not played, I think it was Andrew Miller, I think it was Andrew Miller who gave up like a run or two to inflate it. His ERA could have been sub .50, and that would have been an absolutely unbreakable record. He does lose Matt Shoemaker to an ACL tear for the season, so that is absolutely heartbreaking because Shoemaker was off to a great start. Or Andy in the pretty bad defeat. Nelson Cruz gave him a good week, 292 average, 370 on base, 2 homers and 6 RBIs. Corey Seager, who he traded for, gave him a good week, 400 batting average, 455 on base, 3 doubles, 4 runs, and an RBI. And Rafi Devers gave him a decent week, 294 average, 400 on base, 2 steals, an RBI, 2 doubles, and 2 runs scored. Pitching-wise for Andy, Matt Strahm gave him 8 strong, 5 strikeouts, 1 earned. Edwin Diaz gave him 2 saves, clean innings, 4 strikeouts. And Patrick Corbin, 7 2/3, a win, 9 strikeouts. Looks like 1 earned. For Andy, he didn't have a bad week. Offensively, it was kind of weak, a 220 average, only 3 homers. He kind of ran into a dump truck. Touki Toussaint absolutely destroyed his ERA this week. He had a 47.25 ERA from a just gross fucking start against Cleveland where he gave up, I think it was like 8 in an inning in the third. He just ran into a ridiculous week from Haber. Andy falls from, 6th or so? 6th to 12th. Josh improves from 11th to 7th. We move on. We move on to another blowout. Not quite as large on this one. We've got Stanton room only James McCloskey defeating Chris Levy 13-6. James was number 10 coming into this week. Levy was 16th. Close wins this week. James won by 2 triples and a save. Levy won by .03 whip and a relief appearance. And they tied in stolen bases, errors, and wins. On the bench for James, he goes 12 for 30 on the bench. That's a 400 batting average. 6 runs, a double, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. On Saturday, looks like he had CJ Cron, Curtis Granderson, and Joey Gallo all on the bench, each with a homer, and Hunter Renfroe in the lineup 0 for 4. 2 of those guys are outfield eligible. His first baseman is also outfield eligible. You got to find a way to get one of those guys who homer into the lineup over Hunter Renfroe. I know it's disappointing to see, but damn, that's got to hurt. Got a couple of good streams from guys like Pablo Lopez and Spencer Turnbull, I think. Um, yeah, Spencer Turnbull gave him a good start. Pablo Lopez gave him a decent start. Um, for for Chris, 19 for 63 on the bench. That's a 302 batting average. 7 runs, 6 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, 9 walks, and 15 strikeouts. Um, you know, I saw a lot of things that were discouraging from Chris's team. Not so much like you you don't know which way these streaky hitters are going to hit, but instead on Tuesday the 16th, he went 7 for 19 with a homer, 4 RBIs, 3 runs, a double, and a walk, and 3 strikeouts. Well, he didn't have a center fielder starting, and Jackie Bradley Jr. went 1 for 3 with a double on his bench, and Christian Walker went 3 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs on the bench. You know, um, Delino DeShields had a triple on his bench on Saturday. Like it just, and yet he added him. Like he added Delino DeShields on Monday. I I just shrug my shoulders and go, maybe he's analyzing it. He's analyzing these matchups the wrong way. Maybe he's just playing. Maybe he just plays the same guys every day and hopes for the best. I don't know. Key matchups in this game. We'll start on James's side. Joey Gallo had a big week for him. 3 homers, 10 RBIs, a 474 batting average, 6 runs, a double, and a triple. Cody Bellinger, more of the same from him. A 421 average, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 3 walks, 4 runs, and a double. And Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz was drafted by James, 25th pick or 25th round, 15th pick. He was the second to last guy off the board. 399 overall. And this kid has come out hitting. Like this week he hit 400 for the week, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 5 runs, and a double. Like that's a solid last round pick if ever I saw it. Pitching wise for James, Taylor Rogers gives him 2 saves, which is clutch because he won saves by 1. Tyler Chatwood gave him a good start. He streamed Tyler Chatwood, 6 innings, quality start, 3 strikeouts, and a no decision. And Spencer Turnbull, as I said earlier, another quality start, 5 strikeouts. It looks like he only got 4 wins on the week. Kenta Maeda gave him a good start for a win. He got one in relief from Willie Peralta. He got one from Jameson Taillon. And he got the absolutely ridiculous win from Nick Pivetta because he went 5 innings the day that the Phillies scored 10 runs in the first inning. For Chris, Trevor Story gave him a great week. Trevor Story, 348 average, 407 on base, a homer, 4 RBIs, 5 runs, and 4 steals. Christian Walker gave him a good week when he was in the lineup. 529 average, 579 on base, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 steals, 2 doubles, 2 runs, 2 walks. And Michael Brantley, 333 average, 409 on base, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 doubles, 2 runs. The thing that got me in this matchup was 9 steals apiece, and they tie. I don't think you'll ever see somebody, A, put up 9 steals and not win, and B, put up 9 steals and his opponent put up 9 steals. Got to be the highest tie in that category in Bigs history. Going back to the complete game category, which is one of the ones James won, he got a 5-inning complete game from Jameson Taillon because the rain shortened the game. Benjamin, do away with the stat. Do away with it. Give us quality starts. It's a better stat to have. You luck into a complete game because of weather. It's just not right. If James makes the playoffs, if either James makes the playoff by one category, this is where I'll point the finger to and say they got in because of a 5-inning rain-shortened complete game. I don't think you want that in the bigs. James dump trucked offensively here. Gallo, Bellinger. He had a 2.81 ERA, which is a solid pitching week. Brings him back up the rankings. He jumps from 10th to 5th with this win. Levy is in some real trouble. He's won 14 games over the first 3 weeks. That averages to less than 5 wins a week. He's in the basement. The shutout last week really, really needed a quality performance here, and he just didn't get it. Um, James is in 5th place, and he currently has quite a roster of depletion here between Stanton, Segura, and Judge all on the DL. Losing Nick Pivetta, who was going to be one of his 5 starters, to just inability to throw strikes. If he can put this together and get his guys healthy, we're looking at a dangerous team, and I give him a ton of credit. Moving on, we're going to move on to, I think it's the last matchup of the week. It is. The last matchup of the week this week is a pair of guys who were 14th and 15th coming into the week. That will be Bumpin' Uglas, Ari Nitzman, against new team name The Beavers in Nick Homan. Nick gets the win here, 12-9. Close categories. Nick wins stolen bases by 1 and wins by 1. Ari wins by 2 doubles, an error, and 2 homers given up by a pitcher. For Nick, who won the week, he went 5 for 27 on the bench. That's a 185 average, 2 runs, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, and 9 strikeouts. The big things that I saw, Yasiel Puig was on his bench against Kershaw, and he didn't have a corner outfield spot open, but Puig homered. That was that big homer earlier last week. The next day, he benches John Gray, 7 innings, an earned run, 5 strikeouts in San Diego. And then later on in the week, on Friday, he sat Marcus Stroman with an 8-inning, 1 earned runs performance. Otherwise, I mean, it was a really good week for Nick. He still won the majority of the pitching categories, regardless of those 2 benches. He won homers despite benching Puig's homers, so it was a solid week for him. For Ari, Ari went 3 for 11, which is a 272 batting average, 2 runs, a homer, 3 RBIs, a walk, and a strikeout. The big performance on his bench all week was Josh Reddick, who went, I think, 3 for 5 with a homer, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Like, it's basically all of the bench stats were in one performance. He was up against Marco Estrada, and I don't know if you can play Josh Reddick against Marco Estrada in the Coliseum against over like Verdugo, Blackmon, and Jay Bruce. Those guys have been pretty hot, so I don't blame him for benching him. It just sucks to see that performance on your bench. Key matchup. There weren't a whole lot of drops here. The big one in my eyes is Ari dropping Max Kepler. I feel like Max Kepler's he drafted him pretty high, like 14th round. I feel like that was just like a sort of thing, because I feel like Ari was kind of high on Kepler, but I guess not. Nick did win the waiver claim for Ryan McMahon. That after that huge breakout game that he had, he's had a solid week for Nick, and it's gotta hurt to see for Mike Sherman to see him, basically go off immediately after leaving his roster. Key players for the week for Nick, we get Eddie Rosario, who had a ridiculous week. 276 average, 300 on base, 6 homers, 9 RBIs, 8 runs scored. Just went the fuck off in that doubleheader against Baltimore. 3 homers, and then 2 nights prior had 2 homers as well. So he hit 5 homers in 3 days. Just disgusting. George Springer had a good week for him as well. 316 average, 480 on base, 3 homers, 6 RBIs. And again, Ryan McMahon, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a steal, 3 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Only coming over on April the 18th, which I believe was Thursday. Yeah. So Thursday he got Ryan McMahon and still put up, 2 homers. Um, Pitching wise for Nick, got a good start out of Jordan Lyles. A quality start, 6 innings, a win, 6 strikeouts, nothing earned. Ken Giles gave him 3 saves despite a 2.08 ERA and a 1.62 WHIP and a homer. And Colin McHugh gave him a good start. 6 innings, a win, shutout ball, 5 strikeouts, and 0.67 WHIP. For Ari, JT Realmuto finally comes through huge. 357 average, 2 homers, 11 RBIs, 6 runs scored, 2 doubles. Charlie Blackmon has a good week for him. 407 average, 467 on base, 2 triples, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. And Josh Reddick, when he was in the lineup, he was still very good. 417 average, 462 on base, a homer, an RBI, and a steal. Ari's offense came to play this week. Three triples, 307 batting average. But for the 3rd week in a row, Ari just has an absolutely awful pitching line. A 5.77 ERA. It's his best ERA line of the season. By over half a run from last week, and he's still the worst ERA in the bigs by almost 2 full runs to this point. Ari's in some trouble. He's only won 18 games over the first 3 weeks, which averages out to 6 a week. He's in 15th place. Nick needed this win pretty badly as well, considering his bad outputs the first 2 weeks. He more than doubled his win total from 10 to 22. But basically they flip-flopped positions in the standings. Like Nick moves to 14th and Ari moves to 15th. So those are the matchups this week. Let's move on to the bests and worsts of the week. The best start of the week goes to Jason with Mike Minor's complete game shutout, 7 strikeouts, 3 hits on 103 pitches. The worst start of the week obviously goes to Steven Matz. No innings, no outs, 6 earned runs, 8 total, a walk, 2 homers. That is an infinite ERA and WHIP. Congratulations, Benji. Best performance of the week goes to Christian Yelich. 10 for 24. That's a 417 average, 9 runs, 8 homers, 16 RBIs, and 6 walks. Just absolutely gross. Like, he carried James Santangelo's team. The worst weekly performance of a top 2 round player. So that's a new one I'll be doing this week. So if your first or second round pick absolutely stunk up the joint, you're going to hear about it here. Jason had Max Scherzer go 5 1/3, 9 strikeouts, but a 10.13 ERA and a 2.06 WHIP. Gross. And Frank traded for Jose Ramirez, who went 3 for 17. That's a 176 batting average. 3 runs, 2 RBIs, 4 walks, 2 errors. Gross. The best streamed pitcher of the week, I'm going to give to Chris Levy. He streamed Daniel Norris, 5 innings, a win, 6 strikeouts, and nothing earned. The worst streamed pitcher will go to Ari, who streamed Alex Cobb, 2 2/3 with a loss, 9 earned, 3 homers, and 2 strikeouts. Okay, where am I at on time for this thing? Oh, we're already over an hour. We're at an hour and